Here comes the big cool down as it continues surging southward, bringing cool air all the way to portions of Texas and the southeastern coast, but it comes with a wintry cost over portions of the central and southern plains. I'll time that out for you, as well as give you a look at some tropical concerns that I have. All of that in this video.
One Nation Weather.
Alright, let's start out by taking a look at satellite as well as weather alerts for us here on your Saturday afternoon. We've got winter alerts from portions of northern Texas on up into Oklahoma, portions of western Kansas on up into the Midwest as well, even into portions of northwestern Iowa, as well as back into the Rockies. We've got a flood watch ongoing for at least a little while longer here into portions of northeastern Texas where very heavy rain totals have been piling up. You can see some of that precipitation now streaming northeastward towards portions of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and it will add up over time. Now let's take a look at the HRRR, the most accurate short-term model, the precip radar, all the way through your October 30th, so this is, the next couple of days for us here. First of all, as we go in towards the midnight time frame tonight, this is your Saturday night, rainfall pushing northeastward into the Ohio Valley. This includes Indiana, Illinois. We've got some snowfall here from places like Denver, eastward into portions of, say, southwestern Nebraska, northwestern Kansas. Also a small area of ice there in the panhandles of Texas, Oklahoma, far northeastern New Mexico, and you can see that beginning to build up as we go towards your 5 a.m. on your Sunday. Some of the areas of ice, even a little bit heavy at times in these zones, so definitely watch for some quick freezing rain accretion in these areas. Again, they're basically just a shallow area of warm air in the atmosphere, keeping this from being snow there. Some cooler snowfall moving on down into portions of northern Kansas at the time as we go towards 9 a.m. Sunday morning. Notice how some of this precipitation will continue streaming off towards the northeast and making it into the northeastern region of the United States by this time, while some heavier rainfall continues, especially just north of the Arklatex, that Texarkana region, on up into portions of, say, Fort Smith, Arkansas, towards Little Rock. Notice here we might get a brief changeover to some brief freezing rain, even as far south as, say, I wouldn't go as far to say that this couldn't happen in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, even towards, say, Wichita Falls there in Texas, but overall, just rain event for you, and then this continues pushing off towards the east as mainly a rainfall event for everyone else as we go beyond that point and towards our Halloween. Now, in terms of your flood threat for your Saturday, the October 29th, we're looking at, the best chance for flooding into portions of eastern Oklahoma, northeastern Texas from Dallas, on up towards Little Rock, up towards Memphis, and then over towards Paducah, Kentucky as well. These areas having the best chance of the heaviest rainfall and the flood. In terms of our winter storm impacts, they're going to be highest there, just west of Denver there, right along the Rocky Mountains, but even into the plains, the north central, even towards the northeast, at least some minimal impacts. And the notice in the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, some yellow colors indicating the ice concern. Speaking of ice, this is my graphic for the chance of at least a tenth of an inch of ice accretion from portions of western Missouri back into the North Texas region. In terms of the North Texas, I mean the panhandle. That's where we at least have a chance for a tenth of an inch of ice, which is enough to cause some slippery roadways and some power outages. But overall, in the panhandle of Texas, that's where I'm expecting the highest chance. In fact, a high chance that we pick up at least about a tenth to maybe 0.15 inches of ice accretion, which isn't much, but still enough to cause some problems, and it can be very kind of sneaky there, and you might not even know it's there. In terms of your Monday late afternoon, that's when things begin breaking up with this front, so most of the precipitation in the northeast breaks down, but we've still got it here, and it's going to bring in the cool air behind it. And this is why I'm showing you the rest of the system's timing, just to kind of give you a look. Notice we get a brief little area of low pressure. This is the final reinforcement moving into the Great Lakes. On your Halloween, maybe some quick flurries there into Wisconsin. That would be pretty cool for you up there. Into portions of Michigan. Also some light precipitation right along the mid-Atlantic coastline and into the Carolinas in very light fashion. As a weak area of low pressure tries to develop, and this might combine with something that's a little bit tropical, and I'll show you that in a minute. As you can see, those tightly packed isobars, you know what that means. Gusty winds pushing on in behind this system from the north and the west. This is going to help to, support this low pressure system that tries to get going off the coast, but overall not much in the way of precipitation past Halloween for us here. In fact, not much on Halloween for anybody as high pressure begins to build on in, even with that low near the northeast. Now, in terms of your rain equivalent precip, I say rain equivalent because some areas this is falling as ice, but overall this is rainfall, about a half an inch in many areas on your screen, but in these purple areas, that's where we're looking at 1 to 2 inches, so that goes from northeast Texas all the way up towards the northeast. 2 to 4 inches for us there into places like Little Rock on up into portions of southern Indiana there. And into western Kentucky, so we'll be watching that. Let's talk through the temperatures. Sunday morning, these are your lows. We've got freezing conditions over the entirety of the north central United States, even back on up into the Pacific Northwest, some zones. Chilly in some of the battleground zones into the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Very warm on the southeast coast while we keep it cool in New England. In terms of your highs for your Sunday afternoon, freezing up here. This is including the Dakotas, northern Minnesota, back into the Rockies, just not even escaping the 30s on your Sunday. Cold into the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast, while we keep it very warm here. In fact, mid and upper 80s in some areas of the South East, and especially there into the Mid-South. Then the big freeze begins moving southeastward as we go towards your Monday morning. You can see temperatures in the 20s and 30s moving all the way down towards Missouri, towards portions of, say, Chicago. This goes into northern Texas as well. The only places that are keeping it in the 50s and 60s at this point is in the mid-Atlantic, back down through the southeast, with some temperatures near 70 in Florida, some very muggy conditions there. Monday afternoon, here are your highs. We've got 30s and 40s for highs over pretty much the entirety of the north central United States. A good deal of 40s moving eastward into the Ohio Valley, into the northeast, with some 60s and 70s along the borderline, some 80s continuing in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida at this point. As we go towards your Halloween, these are going to be your high temperatures at this point. Pretty much everybody at least in the 40s and 50s, all the way as far south as Louisiana, as northern Mississippi and Alabama. The only places keeping it in the 60s and 70s and 80s at this point is really going to be here from the Carolinas on down to Florida, but that's not lasting long even for you there. In terms of your trick-or-treat temperatures, this is how cold it's going to be. 20s, very frigid over the north central. We've got 40s sinking on down into Arkansas, in places like Nashville, Tennessee, near 38. In the northeast, some freezing conditions, and even where that front hasn't quite passed yet, still in the 50s. So it's going to be a chilly Halloween for everyone here. In fact, here are your temperatures compared to average on your Halloween, and as we go towards your trick-or-treat time frame. There are some areas in the blue that are obviously cooler compared to average than others, but everyone in the pretty much the eastern two-thirds of the country is cooler than average, except for South Georgia and Florida, and along the west coast we're a bit above average as well. But overall, it's the cold air definitely dominating on your Halloween this year. In fact, some record chill settling on in. Now, in terms of your temperature anomaly tracking with the European model, you can see as we make our way towards our Monday afternoon, very cold over Texas, 20-30 degree departures there. Here we go into our Halloween afternoon. Again, this is what I was just talking to you about. South Georgia as well as Florida, just a little bit above average along with the west coast region for us there. But again, just by about 5 degrees. Where we're cooler than average, it's at least by 5 degrees. In fact, most areas here over the plains, just downright frigid, 10-20 degrees below where we should be. And even at this point, moving to the mid-Atlantic and northeast, well below where we should be for this time of the year. You can see some of these secondary purple areas moving through the plains, and those are just really additional reinforcements of the northwesterly winds, helping to bring in that very cold air, and that continues sinking eastward. Here we go towards the end of the week, or at least the midweek time frame, I should say. From places like the Dakotas on down into the southeast, we continue keeping temperatures well below where they should be this time of the year. Along the west coast, a little bit warmer than average, but not too bad. Again, overall, it's the cold air continuing to blast through. But as we head towards towards a few days in towards November, we begin to see some of this warmer air shift east, and you can see that as we head towards our November 3rd and our November 4th, you can see that begin to move towards the plains. And this is the overall indication that we're going to see warmer than average air begin to move over the central parts of the country by this point. After about 5 to 10 days of below average air, it won't be that bad, but nonetheless, this is going to bring our temperatures, about 10 degrees above where they should be, if this is correct. Overall, the only places that would still be cooler than average at this point are over the far northern United States and over the southeast, where that cold air is kind of lingering around, because remember, it makes it to the southeast last, so it lasts there a little longer than most areas. And then as we head towards our Tuesday, this is November 7th, a long way out, but overall looking like a good bit of the country definitely rebounding at that point. Now, in terms of the tropics, we've got a couple areas we're watching here as of your 2 p.m. On your Saturday, we've got a couple areas with a low chance of development. One in the Caribbean with a 10% chance over the next 7 days. That's actually gone down, as that area doesn't really even appear like it's there anymore. We've got a 20% chance, though, that's blocked out by where it says Tropical Weather Outlook. This is a 20% chance over the next little while for us here. In fact, over the next 2 to 3 days is really the best chance of this system developing just north of the Caribbean. And this is kind of lingering on the little boundary left over from Hurricane Tammy as it moved on off towards the northeast. So we'll watch this as it continues moving through. Definitely some hefty rainfall in the Caribbean. It's not uncommon to just see a bunch of disorganized activity over this region this time of the year, but it's this front coming off the United States that's going to make it head in that direction, and it's definitely going to push this system out to sea, so we don't really have to worry about it, even though the trajectory looks like it's heading towards the United States. As I play this out again, you can see how the front kind of picks it up, and it's really going to be kind of what helps to initiate that low pressure system right around the northeast coast. But overall, notice how this precipitation overall looks to head off towards Atlantic Canada, and really most of it missing all land masses at this point. But overall, this time of the year, the best areas to watch for development are here in the Gulf and over the Caribbean. So we'll at least monitor some of that disorganized activity that lingers around in those areas. But for now, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed my hard work. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. Here are the credits coming up right on your screen right about now.